In this video, we are talking about the top 10 field service systems in 2025. So let's dive right in. Hello everyone, my name is Sen Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent, vendor agnostic technology advisory firm. We help our clients with technology strategy, change management, system selection. On that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is the top 10 field service systems in 2025. Before we look at the list, let's understand how we define field service systems. For the most part, the field service systems are slightly siloed in nature. They are meant to be the SaaS system, which is software as a service. For the most part, they are not going to be integrated, or the integrated module that you are going to get with some of the ERP systems. And primarily, the focus of field service systems is for the field service operations. Sometimes they might have a lot more overlap with the CRM systems. Sometimes they have overlap with the ERP systems. But for the most part, as far as the scope of this list goes, these systems are the siloed field service systems, again, which is going to be more of the software as a service. The purchase cycle of these systems would be at the departmental level, and that would not require as much cross-functional integration. There might be some integration, but it does not require all of the departments to move together on one system. So again, these are very siloed systems. The criteria that we have used to compile this list is product share, acquisition strategy, focused on the field services product, the product roadmap, community ecosystem, win rate, technology strategy, as well as the investors. On that note, now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is Jobber. In Jobber, when you look at the system, this is slightly more on the smaller side. So for the most part, this is going to be relevant for the startup or the smaller operations when these companies might be on QuickBooks and they might be looking for slightly more QuickBooks-centric add-on to run their operations, as well as field service operations. For those purposes, Jobber is going to be a great fit. Some of the strengths to keep in mind from the Jobber perspective is, number one, if you don't have as much implementation budget, for the most part, this is going to be far easier to be able to implement as well as to learn. Just because a lot of data models that you are going to have, whether you talk about any of the customer-centric data sets or the product or service-centric data sets, for the most part, in this particular space, especially as far as the field service operations go, you are going to have a lot more services. You are not going to have as much inventory. So you are going to have the service-centric data sets, but those service-centric data sets are not going to be coded. For the most part, the QuickBooks-centric systems, they are going to have slightly more text-based services that they are going to support. Now, because of that text-based, your implementation is going to be much easier. Learning is going to be much easier, but you might have data integrity issues just because your data sets are not formalized. But if you are small and you don't have as much implementation as well as consulting budget, then this system could be a great fit. Overall, systems of this nature, when you look at Jobber, they are going to have a lot more capabilities from the scheduling perspective, just because that's where the major pain is going to be of these companies. So you will be able to schedule your services. And the reason for that is because the calendar functionality is going to be integrated. Your challenges are going to be on the financial side, or when you are looking at things such as your resource optimization, you might have a little bit of timesheet, but that's the extent of these systems. Some limitations to keep in mind is data integrity issues that I have pointed out. Anything related to finance, costing, etc. If you're looking for those things, this system may not be the best fit. And obviously, when you look at any of the cross-functional use cases for those, this system might not be the best fit. And billing, invoicing, milestone billing, etc. may be a challenge. So that's number 10. Now, number 9 on our list is Oracle Field Service. Now, when you compare Oracle Field Service with Jobber, these two are two completely different systems for two completely different market segments. So when you look at Oracle Field Service, that is going to be slightly more enterprise friendly. It's going to have much deeper enterprise scale capabilities, but that does make the implementation as well as the learning far more challenging compared to something like Jobber. So depending upon your maturity as well as what you are looking for. So for example, if this is your first system that you are trying to implement, utilize, then Jobber is going to be a great fit. Let's say if you are outgrowing some of these smaller systems, for example, you were on Jobber for a long time and now you are looking for slightly more advanced capabilities. That's where either you need to target some of those mid-market systems, and we have a lot on this list, or some of the enterprise systems. And in this case, Oracle Field Service is going to be slightly more enterprise grade system, which is designed for very enterprise centric use cases, even if you don't use this system for enterprise company or functionality. But again, the system is going to support all of that, and because of that, the implementation, learning, etc. might be a little challenging. It's going to have very complex algorithm for your call handling, dispatching, and those are some of the enterprise grade features that your mature systems are going to offer. And then when you get into the complex use cases of GPS routing, etc., including traffic integration, some of those use cases would be far easier to support in this system as opposed to some other systems. Looking to consolidate some of your global workloads from the field service perspective, and you have challenges such as your data residency, especially if you might be in the not-for-profit public sector space. There they will have data residency requirements. They need to keep their data in particular locations. For those concerns, your Oracle Field Service is going to be a great fit, just because it is going to support many different localizations, many different locations worldwide, and that is going to be a great fit for the Oracle Field Service solution. Some limitations to keep in mind. Overall, for SMBs, it might come across as slightly bloated. The learning curve might be steep. And then if you're looking for a solution that is going to be slightly more mobile friendly, this might not be the best system. Some of these smaller systems have far superior mobile centric capabilities. So that's number 9. Now, number 8 on our list is ServiceNow Field Service Management. And when you look at ServiceNow Field Service Management, if you compare this with the previous two that we have reviewed so far, which is your Jobber as well as Oracle Field Service, the comparable for ServiceNow is probably Oracle Field Service, just because this is very enterprise centric solution as well. Jobber was elementary solution. So here, this is going to be for companies that are deeper into the IT data centric workflows, just because ServiceNow natively has much deeper capabilities for the IT-centric organizations. And if your field service processes are structured around that, for that, ServiceNow is going to be a great fit. Some strengths to keep in mind from the ServiceNow perspective: the architecture is extremely fluid for the ad hoc business processes, and some of workflow automation-centric use cases are supported as part of the architecture. The data model as well as processes, they are are pre-populated for IT-centric businesses, whether you talk about IT-centric compliance, enterprise risk management, etc. Those processes would be supported as part of ServiceNow field service management solution, as well as any other solutions that are going to be part of their portfolio. ServiceNow is a modern technology, so it's going to be mobile friendly compared to some of the other legacy solutions. Some limitations to keep in mind: overly bloated. It will require very expensive implementation compared to some of the smaller SaaS-centric systems. For example, if you compare this with Jabber, overall the licensing is probably going to be expensive as well. So that's number 8. Number 7 on our list is Service Fusion. So if you compare Service Fusion with some of the other systems that we have reviewed so far, Service Fusion is likely to be bigger than your Jabber system, but it's going to be smaller than your Oracle and ServiceNow. Service Fusion overall is designed for smaller to medium-sized businesses, but slightly more on the smaller side. This is going to be beneficial for companies that also want to support commerce-centric processes as part of their field service workflows, and sometimes they are going to require a lot more commerce-centric transactions as part of their field service workflows. If that is going to be a requirement, then Service Fusion can support all of those workflows along with their Service Fusion solution, plus the commerce capabilities that you are going to have as part of their portfolio. Some strengths to keep in mind is pre-integrated suite with the commerce-centric workflows. It's very SMB friendly, easy to set up and use. Some limitations to keep in mind: some users report that it might be glitchy, the support might be poorer, especially now that it is owned by private equity, so it might not be as good from the support perspective. Sometimes after acquisition with private equity, we do hear issues with the support, so that is something that you can expect with this one. That's what we keep hearing from users. And overall, this particular private equity that has acquired Service Fusion, they don't necessarily plan to make any sort of changes to the software, which might be a concern. They have changed their model, but overall, this private equity is not committed to making the changes to the software. So sometimes you might not get the latest and greatest features, especially if you are looking for some of those AI capabilities. They might not have as much R&D budget. So that's number 7. Now, number 6 on our list is Service Power. And Service Power is a technology that is designed for mid-market, upper mid, as well as some of the enterprise-centric workflows. Especially their scheduling is very strong, and sometimes the other systems use that as the technology. They have an IP, and because of that, some of the enterprise companies might use Service Power's technology. So some of these trends to keep in mind is overall the scheduling is very enterprise grade, and there are many services, and as part of that, for example, let's say if you have challenges with your service worker recruitment as well as acquisition, they can bundle those capabilities as part of the product as well. Sometimes there might be conflict of interest with these offerings, so some companies don't prefer that. But for the most part, if you're looking for managed services along with the platform, then Service Power may be a great fit. And it can manage both the employed as well as third-party service workers, and sometimes there are challenges with respect to their compensation as well as how the UR is going to schedule. Especially the third-party service providers, they are going to have their own scheduling system, so it becomes very challenging to manage those workflows, and Service Power can handle all of those. The limitations to keep in mind is might not be as integrated, or the ecosystem might not be as developed as Service Titan. Service Titan is far more funded, and we are going to review that as well. For the most part, Service Power has much smaller ecosystem. They are going to have much fewer installed base. The installed base that they are going to have may be much bigger than Service Titan. Sometimes Service Titan has much smaller logos, and we are going to review the Service Titan. They are far more ahead on this particular list. And not as complete suite as when you look at the Service Fusion. So overall, the suite is not going to be as complete. But if you're looking at this only from the field service perspective, then this could be a great solution. And again, even though they claim that it is designed for enterprises, when you compare this with other enterprise-centric solutions, it might not have as mature, as advanced capabilities. So that's number 6. Number 5 on our list is ServiceMax. And ServiceMax is primarily in the Salesforce ecosystem, and they were sort of the go-to provider in the Salesforce ecosystem. Things have changed since Salesforce has developed their own field service module, and now they are promoting that. But for the most part, ServiceMax does have very advanced capabilities. The integration might not be as smooth overall from the ServiceMax perspective. Now, when you look at the ServiceMax's alignment, it is aligned with PTC. PTC has acquired ServiceMax. So anything that is going to be part of the PTC portfolio and the industries where PTC is aligned, for those industries, ServiceMax might be a superior fit, just because you are going to have far deeper integration and collaboration with the engineering centric suite. And sometimes the field service components do require collaboration with that, depending upon your industry. If you are going to be in simple spaces, for example, either paint centric field service verticals or the janitorial centric field service vertical, in those verticals, you don't necessarily require integration or the collaboration with engineering centric processes. But let's say, for example, if you are in the medical device space, or you are in the industry 4.0 space, and you are supporting these field service processes from the equipment perspective, in those cases, ServiceMax is going to be a great fit. And with ServiceMax, even though the integration might not be as embedded, as tight, you still have that Salesforce embedded experience. So if you're looking for options in the Salesforce ecosystem, this could be a great fit. And ServiceMax does have very deep enterprise grade capabilities, so that's going to be a great plus. Now, limitations to keep in mind. Overall communication challenges with the Salesforce objects. So that was always a challenge with ServiceMax. And again, when you are going to have the disparate databases as well as systems, even though it is part of Salesforce ecosystems, sometimes there could be challenges because of that. But it's definitely not SMB friendly. It's a much bigger solution overall. So if you're looking for simpler, easy to use, that can be implemented with much lower consulting budget in the DIY mode, then this might not be the best fit. Mobile capabilities are fairly limited as well. So that's number 5. Now, number 4 on our list is Microsoft Dynamics 365 field service solution. And this is from Microsoft. It is part of their 365 Dynamics 365 bundle. So if you are going to be on Microsoft solutions, for the most part, if you have an ERP, which is Business Central, or the finance and supply chain, for those ERPs, field service is probably going to be a great solution, just because your integration is going to be much tighter. Also, if you're using, let's say, CRM from Microsoft, that could be a great mix, just because you are going to have everything from one vendor perspective. Overall, even though it is part of the ERP sort of portfolio, but field service module that they have, it has its own sort of data store database, ledger, overall from the alignment perspective of the solution. So it is not necessarily just the ERP module as some of the other ERP systems might claim. So this is going to be a real SaaS version that you are utilizing along with the other ERP capabilities that you have in the mix. So strengths to keep in mind is the integrated MS Suite, and anything and everything that comes as part of MS Suite, some of those technical capabilities from the Power Platform perspective, or anything that you have as part of Azure portfolio, obviously that's going to be a huge plus for this particular solution. It's very cloud native, so that's going to be another strength. The extensibility for the custom workflows. So again, this is a very enterprise grade solution. So if you have very custom workflows that you are trying to extend for those use cases, this particular solution is going to be a great fit. Some limitations to keep in mind is reliance on third-party add-ons for suite offerings. So other solutions that we have on this list may have much deeper capabilities built out of the box. In this case, you are probably going to rely on a lot of add-ons. The data model that you have from the common data model perspective, that is integrated at the database level. So that's where your communication with some of the other solutions that they have in the Microsoft portfolio is going to be much easier to manage compared to other systems or the vendors. They might claim that they have field service capabilities, but their integration is going to be at the service level. And sometimes we have seen issues with respect to integration, syncing, seamless communication between these platforms. So for Microsoft, that's a huge plus. And then you also have the Power Platform. So if you are going to have any sort of ad hoc workflows in terms of data collection, or your forms keep changing, and that's a huge problem in the field service space. If you have those use cases, for that, Microsoft Dynamics 365 field service platform is going to be a great fit. So that's number 4. Number 3 on our list is Salesforce Field Service. And Salesforce Field Service, this is the offering coming directly from Salesforce as opposed to the ServiceMax offering, which is third party in the Salesforce ecosystem. So the real difference between is going to be in these two is going to be whether it is Salesforce owned or it is third party owned. And that's where you are going to have differences in terms of the vendor alignment, the contractual alignment, the licensing, how you are going to do the support model, etc. So this is coming directly from Salesforce. So that's going to be a huge plus overall as far as this solution goes. These trends, seamless integration with some of the other Salesforce offerings. And so that's a huge plus. The capabilities might not be as mature, or the alignment with some of the other offerings. For example, let's say if you are in the engineering or the industry 4.0 verticals, PTC may have slightly superior offering in those cases, and ServiceMax might be a superior option there. But in this case, let's say if you are very heavy on Salesforce and you're looking for a solution that is going to be tightly integrated or tightly embedded with Salesforce workflows, then this could be a great fit. Overall, Salesforce ecosystem is also a huge plus, as well as the capabilities are going to be enterprise grade. So those are some of the pluses. Now, some limitations to keep in mind. This is not necessarily an SMB solution. If you are going to be tight on budget, you don't have as much implementation budget, this might not be the best solution for you. Only designed for the best of breed centric, service centric workflows. And again, when you have the best of breed field services need, let's say if you require alignment with the inventory, costing, etc., if you have those, then this might not be the best fit. Then you need to probably go for ERP centric field service solution. But if you are trying to decouple these processes for speed as well as for the performance of your transactions, if that is your use case, then Salesforce Field Service is probably going to be a great fit. It requires consulting as well as the enterprise architecture expertise, just because you are going to have many different data stores, ledgers, carrying different information across your enterprise. That's where your consulting as well as the enterprise architecture expertise is going to be required in this particular case. So that's a little negative there. And that's Salesforce Field Service and at number 3. Now, number 2 on our list is IFS Field Service Management Software. IFS is one of the enterprise grade solution. It is adopted at very large field service operations, and some of those field service operations are as large as Fortune 100, Fortune 500, and sometimes companies use IFS field service on top of your SAP Oracle, just because it is one of the best overall from the field service operations perspective. So some of these trends to keep in mind from the IFS field service perspective is it's suitable for industries with intertwined EAM as well as field service workflows, just because enterprise asset management is also enterprise grade from IFS perspective. So that's why if you are going to have any sort of intertwined workflows between these two, for that, this could be a great fit. in this particular case, you are going to have both the best of breed as well as embedded workflows, just because it is also tightly integrated as part of the ERP workflows. So sometimes that could be a huge plus compared to other solutions. For example, if you look at Salesforce Field Service, they don't necessarily have their own ERP. So ERP-centric workflows are going to be challenging in that case. This is going to be far more comparable with, for example, let's say if you compare this with Microsoft. Microsoft has its own ERP. The way their solutions are integrated, they can support both best of breed plus the embedded workflows, and this is going to be a similar experience with the IFS as well. And then again, the technology is very cloud native, so that's a huge plus for the field service centric workflows, just because these workflows require mobile friendliness compared to other ERP centric workflows. So some limitations to keep in mind is overwhelming for SMBs, just because those workflows are far more enterprise centric. They would require a lot more consulting help. The learning is going to be challenging in this particular case. If you don't have decent consulting budget, decent implementation budget, you might struggle with solution. They have developed a lot of presence in North America, but still their presence is kind of limited right now compared to the other solutions. So that's going to be a little negative there. And overall, when you look at their ecosystem, for example, if you compare this with Service Titan is going to have far deeper collaboration, integration ecosystem with marketing as well as call center centric workflows. The integration some of the field service companies require, for example, their customers are going to require these integrations as well. In those use cases, IFS may not be the best fit, just because you are going to require a lot more integration help in integrating with those lead generation channels. So that's going to be number 2. Now, number 1 on our list is Service Titan. And Service Titan is a smaller solution, even though they have much larger logos as well. The reason why Service Titan is number 1 is because it's very well funded. It's doing really well. They have a lot of installations in the field services space. It's very easy to use in general, even for the SMB companies, even though the data model might not be as relevant from the enterprise use cases perspective. Enterprises may struggle overall from the data integrity, data alignment. But if your goal is to use this as more of the best of breed solution, you are looking for something that is going to have very tight ecosystem with some of those lead generation channels and going to have marketing centric workflows. For that, Service Titan is a great fit. So again, some strengths to keep in mind is the pre-baked integration, marketplace, as well as the suite that you are looking at from the SMB perspective. Those are some of these strengths. Some limitations to keep in mind: it is not meant for enterprises, and this is really limited to best of breed settings. So again, if you have those ERP centric needs where your field service workflows need to collaborate closely with your inventory cost centric workflows, if you have those needs, then Service Titan may not be the best fit. And again, their target market is sort of the residential services. So if you are going to be in any other verticals, then you might struggle with that. So that's number 1. If you enjoyed this list, we are going to include a detailed report that is going to have much deeper analysis, so you might want to check that. We publish these videos on a weekly basis, so you don't forget to hit the subscribe button. This podcast is also available in the audio form on major podcasting channels, so you might want to check that. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video.